supplements is probably one of the biggest markets, but also one of the most criticized markets. How come you got into that in the first place?
It was really interesting, actually, because it came about when I was in prep in 2019. So I'm from Shrewsbury in Shropshire, where Strom Sports Nutrition are based. So I had, I knew Rick from Strom, and he was sound. We used to train in the same gym, and I started using his products. Well, I started using his products before he had Strom. So he would get all the good American stuff. He would import it all, the really strong pre-workouts that you could no longer have. And it kind of started there, really. So we got into prep in 2019, and I'd buy my stuff off Rick and I'd post about it on Instagram, just for my own personal sake, because that's when stories came around in Instagram more so. And, I had a few people message me going, "Oh, what you using? What's this? What's that? Can you get me some of that?" And I was like, "Yeah, no problem." So I'd say, "Rick, can you do this? Can we do that? Can we send this guy this? Can we send that guy that?" "Yeah, no problem." And very quickly, I'm a natural businessman, salesman. I was thinking, hang on a minute, there's a demand here, and a specific demand in Manchester for Strom at the time. And I just said to Rick, "Look, there's clearly a demand. Why don't I represent Strom at the weekends alongside my day job? And I can get Strom into gyms. I can sell it, direct to consumer, encourage people to go to the website, and we just set something up where you pay me a commission for, whatever." And he said, "Yeah, let's do it." So we did that for a couple of weeks. And then I said, "Look, Rick, I think there's a bigger opportunity here. Why don't I just purchase the product from you, create a website business, and off we go?" And that was it. So that was the start of Full Bore Sports, as it were.
Nice. So actually, like, the distribution side was kind of taken from Rick, because obviously Rick was this big distributor in the first place. So that did that spark your interest in obviously starting your distribution with other people from demand, but also then branching out to bigger and wider companies?
Yeah, so it was the case of, I felt in my head, Strom for me, because I'd been involved with the business for, as a customer and a friend of Rick's for some time, massive inspiration. I'd seen the business grow, and this was, 6 years ago. So what he's done in the last 6 years has been absolutely phenomenal. So it was the case of, right, Strom kind of have everything that I need as a bodybuilder. So my goal was then to say, right, okay, let's just sell Strom on a website. So for a long time, I just had the Strom brand. I didn't have anything else. But then as things kind of developed, it was the case of, I had a couple of guys in Flex and Tone in Manchester saying, "Can you get a supplement needs stuff?" And I was like, "I'm pretty sure." So I'd reach out to Lee at Supplement Needs and say, "Look, Lee, I'm selling Strom. We've got a website. There's demand for your brand. Shall we set something up?" The next brand, I think, was Perform. And then it just kind of built from there. And I then had a philosophy then as to what I'd want the business and the brand to look like. And then there became the purpose around what the brand and the business was going to do. And that was to be able to really get premium supplements into the hands of people and athletes that at an affordable price, because they were premium products at the end of the day.
Yeah.
And I always remember being short of money when I was competing, always. Even though I had a really good job, really well-paid job, money was always spent on everything, You know how expensive bodybuilding is: shows, tanning, travel, hotels, like food,
Especially in prep. Especially in prep.
You're eating less, but the bills still go up.
It's because you're paying for everything elsewhere.
Yeah, literally that. So it was kind of like, okay, how do I then create more traffic to our business? So then it was looking at the athlete and affiliate model. So I had a few friends. The first athlete we brought into the business was a friend of mine, and he was an MMA fighter and a bare knuckle fighter. And I said, look, I can't pay you anything. I can't give you anything, but will you help me? And he said, yeah. I said, look, I can give you extra good discount on your stuff, but we're at the start of the company. I haven't got money to, give product away at the moment.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember my very first order with Rick as an actual business. I borrowed 220 quid off my mum to actually pay for the product. I was like, right, I'm going to pay some product up front now, Rick. I just want these bits. Can we have those? And then it just went on from there. And as Rick saw more business coming through, he was able to be more flexible with me from getting product to me. So he'd start sending me in bulk then. So yeah, it was the case of, okay, what are the things that are missing for me as a bodybuilder in this whole situation of competing? And I started thinking about that then. And yeah, I guess it was the case of, I just loved it. Like the fact that I was going to the gym in prep, and I'm one of these guys, I'm like you, I'll just go and talk to people and introduce myself and say, and that's what I do to build the brand. I was in Flex and Tone doing my prep in Manchester, and I said to Mike, the owner, Mike, look, I'm starting this business as a side hustle. Are you okay? You don't sell supplements in here, but are you okay if I, let people know that I've got this business and I'm selling supplements? It's a prime audience. What do you think? He's like, yeah, mate, no problem. I'll buy my supplements off you. So he was buying his supplements off me. So I give him a good deal. And then I was able to speak to all the gym members. And honestly, there was a lot of business that came out of Flex and Tone. I'm very grateful to Mike there, who let me just to speak to all the members and introduce myself and kind of hassle them while they're training.
Yeah, I think that's it really. It's whenever we're in prep, you're always juggling being able to, especially when you're starting out, you're always juggling being able to pay for accommodation. If you're doing abroad shows, being able to afford flights and things like that. And supplements, especially when we're in prep, is so important because they allow us to keep function correct. They allow us to make sure that our brain function is good, our body is working as it should, our hormones stay in check. And all of these things are different ones, even more so when you're enhanced, because then you need the kidney health, you need the heart health, you need all of those things that are making sure that we're staying healthy. And like you said, they just rack up. It gets a bit more expensive. You take another compound and now you have to add another 2-3 supplements to make sure your health is okay. And all of a sudden, like you say, even though we're in prep, even though we're dropping the food bill, the supplement bill is getting higher and higher because the compounds are getting more and more. And I think, like you said, it's a premium market. And at the time before your distribution, everything was touch overpriced, wouldn't you say?
I don't know. I wouldn't say it was overpriced. It's just not a cheap sport. And I think when you look at, I mean, I don't talk a lot about when we talk about a product within the business, we talk about a solution that it offers versus your health. And you have to understand that trade-off is like, money should be irrelevant when it comes to health, but it isn't, because we all only have a certain amount of money. We're not everybody's Elon Musk, So when you're looking at the whole bodybuilding industry and the people who do it, 90% of our whole bodybuilding market are amateurs, right? And we do it because we absolutely fucking love it. And, 95% of us aren't going to the Olympia. So we do it because we love it. That's whether we call it a sport or a hobby, there's always some conflict around what we call it. I call it a sport. I call it a crazy. Yeah,
It's an extreme sport, but it's
yeah,
also all of our hobbies. That's the reason we do it, because we love it.
yeah, absolutely. So, it's always about making the best stuff accessible for me.
Hmm.
And that's also reflected in our philosophy around education as well, because we never ever wanted to be just a supplement retailer, because that's what
Hmm.
we were for the first 5 years essentially, until last year when we made the decision to develop our own products. And that really came from um, something that I went through personally with my own mental health and anxiety, to have the sort of catalyst for creating our very first product. And it came from I'll be honest, a massive struggle in my life where I was like, this is just not, I can't keep going on like this, and
Mm.
that's where the first product came from. So like I said, the philosophy around accessibility will always be part of delivering on our value to the end user. And you'll see that over the next sort of 6 to 12 months as well, with how we're going to complement extra products that will fit into our very first product, which is Stressless. And you'll see that as well being delivered through the membership side. We've doubled our investment this year on educational
Yeah.
content.
Yeah, it's looking
And
insane. It's looking really, really good. Really good.
yeah, I thank you. I appreciate that. And I think we're building something, it's definitely unique. There's no
Mm.
other bodybuilding brand that are delivering a site where you have product and education combined in
Mhm.
terms of an offer. So I always kind of say to people, when people say, "Well, what do you do and what's the business?" Well, we have an educational bodybuilding brand that's led with health, and the actual platform is very much like Amazon,
Mhm.
in that you have this digital area over here, and videos and films and
Mhm.
stuff on Amazon
And
Prime,
you
and
got
then
the
over
products on
here
this side.
you have the product. So we do look at some of the best companies in the world and go,
It is an industry first for sure, having that kind of combination of education and clothing. You got products, you got clothing, you got education as well. Yeah, exactly. I saw it. Don't
yeah,
worry.
yeah, we got the plug, but no, and that's what I'll be honest with you, it's kind of, is it a little bit of an ego thing to do something first in the industry? Probably. But I think
Yeah, but I don't think it's ego as much. It's just you're trying to have as much impact as you can in all areas. You're passionate about the sport and you want to help people with the attire that they wear. You want to help people with the health and the supplement side. You want to help people with education, whether it's amateur, whether it's pro, whether it's starting out. Like, you're covering all bases, which is, I just think, is amazing, really.
that is exactly what we're trying to achieve. Our mission statement is, and it says it on our clothing, your journey is our passion.
I
And
like
it's
that.
quite simple. We want to improve your journey. And whether that is providing you with the smallest bit of amazing information around posing in your side chest, through to, reducing your cortisol with a supplement, or improving your digestion, or, making you feel great in a hoodie, whatever it may be, we want to be involved in every single touch point of your journey to hopefully improve it. Because, like I said, I just refer everything back to my journey. And when I look at it, I'm looking to fill the gaps.
Mhm.
What is it that I wanted and what I needed on my journey? And there's lots of things, because obviously the coaching space and the education space in the last 6 or 7 years has been had phenomenal
Blown
growth.
up. Yeah.
Absolutely huge. Bodybuilding's getting more accessible. It's getting more popular. I mean, it's a wonderful thing to see. I love it. And it's kind of, how do we find a credible source of information and real good quality coaching. And the first point is always having a relationship with someone who's got a moral compass. So who's
Yes.
in it for the individual, not in it for the money. Because there is a big, presence of money-driven coaching,
Yeah.
which is fine. That is business, whatever. But we don't sit in that money-driven space. I personally don't sit in that money-driven space. I sit in the space of, okay, let's look at the people we work with. Are they credible and are they experts?
Mhm.
Yes. And where do they sit in their morality? What are they posting on Instagram about their clients? How do they behave? What kind of content are they creating? And that gives me a good understanding about when we try and bring people into the business to work with them, whether they're going to uphold the brand ethos and the philosophy and, complement us, at the end of the day, because we
Yes.
are very specific with who we work with and how we work with. Because I've made mistakes over the years. I try a lot of things. I'm very much a guy who will roll the dice,
Good.
every damn day.
That's how you should be in business. I think touching on what you were saying about the coaching space being there's a big divide at the moment. And I think with the coaching space getting bigger and bigger and bigger, it's more prevalent that some people are in it just for money and other people are in it for the long game, and they're in it because they want to be in it. So like for myself, starting out, obviously I'm in a full-time job and I want online coaching to be my full-time. And
Yes.
the reason I want that is because I want to have more impact and I want to have more time to change people's lives. And the thing is, like, I've had so many people tell me, it's like, oh, why do you niche down so much? Why are you focused so much on bodybuilding? Like, you're not going to get more clients on that. And I'm like, I have a full-time job. I don't need to build up a 30, 40 client roster in 2 weeks. Like, that doesn't bother me. I'd rather have 2 years of really slow progression, but actually have clients that want to be in there, want to work with me, and want to kind of change their way about it, than care about the paycheck that comes out every single month. Like,
100%.
obviously, the money driven is purely so I can leave my job and make it my full time. That is the only focus. Like when people say, "Oh, what is your money goals in 3 to 5 years?" It's like, I couldn't tell you, because that's not a driver for me. A driver is just changing more and more people's lives.
Yeah.
And I love the ethos that you have about following the journey. I think that's amazing.
Yeah. And for me, fulfillment, I've probably had a few extra years on the planet than you at the moment.
I think
And,
so.
you know, having a purpose and feeling fulfilled daily is so much rewarding than watching a bank account increase in money. It is
Yeah.
honestly waking up every day and just being grateful for what you get to do daily is your passion. It's wild. Like, I genuinely have moments regularly now, more than ever, that I just little pinch yourself. I'm like, do I actually get to do this? Is this my life? Fuck. Yes, it's great. And I'm very, I love building stuff and just sort of hopping back to the,
Me too. I love
yeah,
it.
it's fantastic, isn't it?
The constant pursuit of something better. I love
Yeah,
that.
absolutely. And when you compile evidence
Hmm. Yeah.
of your work, let's say, for example, over a year, you've been working on something for a year and then you see this evidence come to fruition, like
Hmm.
you're building that identity of yours that you're a doer, you're a go-getter, you're all of these things that you want to tell yourself that you are then evidenced through your just fucking pure graft and work. And
Hmm.
that's, like, for me, is one of the most rewarding things. And yeah, the build, the build of stuff is, and trying to do stuff that other people won't try.
Yes. Yes.
That's also something for me, because it's the hard stuff that yield the biggest rewards. Go and try
Hmm.
something that people won't try. Like, I always watch that. I always see that clip of Elon Musk landing that
The
fucking ship,
SpaceX.
the
Yeah.
SpaceX, in landing it back down, and I'm like, oh my God, that is wild. Who else is trying that? Do you
But
know what I
how
mean?
many, also, what people don't know is how many times he failed, how many times they blew up,
Failed.
how many times, and you don't see that. You don't see the
No.
fails. You only ever see the win, the fact that he landed it broadcasted. It's like
Yeah.
going back to what you're saying about the building, like this is what I love so much about the podcast. I have so many people tell me, "Oh, you're really pumping these out. Like you're doing so many." And it's like, yeah, but that's because I don't want to be that person who's doing one per week. Like I want to be.
That's what drew me to you. I'll be honest with you. It was like, this podcast, I've seen this podcast again. Oh, I've seen this podcast again. I was like, and then this
That's
is
it.
cool. Do you know what I mean?
That's
So
it.
like, I was like, yes, this is great.
12 episodes in, I just passed 1,000 streams, which
Amazing, mate.
if you would have asked me at the start of this, I probably would have told you that it would have flopped. So it's just like not thinking about that, just going in it head first. The more
Yeah.
you book people, the more you just have to turn up, and it doesn't matter.
Yeah, 100%. I was, when we set the business up, so I incorporated Full Ball Sports Limited on the 15th of July, 2020. So what happened was when COVID hit and we all got fucked over, I lost my day job. So I was a salesman in Manchester, and we all got made redundant. So we got put on furlough or whatever they called it, and they paid us a bit of dough. And I was like scratching my head, going, "This isn't going to work out well. I've got to start planning for something different here." And we'd got a website built and everything else, so we were doing a little bit of money through the website, but nothing major. A lot of it was still DMs on Instagram. "Oh, Rob, can you send me out some Glycomax? Rob, can you send me out some protein?" Yeah, no problem. And I
I
always
need the peak
remember,
max.
yeah, Peak Max. Wow, what a product. And I always remember, I was like, right, what is it that I can do now that'll help the business come out the other end? Because I was sat in my flat, it's COVID, you can't fucking go anywhere, or I mean, I did, but so I started doing lives on Instagram with my bodybuilding mates just to get some traction onto the page. And I kept doing them. And one of the inspirational people that I followed during that time, because it was a tough time for a lot of people, was Gary Vaynerchuk. I don't know whether you've probably heard of Gary V, right?
Yeah, I've heard of him. It rings a bell. I couldn't tell you off the top of my head, but it rings a bell.
Yeah, no. So he owns a company called Vaynerchuk Media, along with a lot of other things. I think he owns some sort of athlete team as well in the US. I would highly recommend you check him out.
Okay.
Because honestly, I think you'll just click with him. He's just a free thinker. And when it came to me doing these lives, he was like, just keep going. Like, he'd put content all the time. Like, look, you're going to get 0 views. You're going to get 1 view. You're going to get 2 views, but you just keep going. And we were doing lives, and I get 1 or 2 people tuning in, and I'm now going, fucking hell, no one cares. But then on the 7th, 8th, 9th live that we did and more, we had Dr. Dean on from Supplement Needs. I was like, "Dr. Dean, come and do a live with me, mate." Yeah, no problem, Rob. I was like, "What, you're going to do it?" And he was like, "Yeah, of course." I was like, brilliant. And we had like 60 or 70 people tune in.
Yeah, that's crazy.
So these little, 0 views up to 60 or 70. And it's, like I said, it's the build, isn't it? And it's
the same when when I started this, I was like, okay, I want to build a foundation of people that I want on. So I started it that night, and I literally sent out 14 DMs to different people, big, small, whatever, in the middle, didn't care. It was just like, the more people I have on, the more stories. Like, the perk of starting out is I can interview 10 really small businesses or really small creators and just share their story. And because I'm small, it doesn't matter, because there's no pressure to be having this big name, having this next big thing. So it allows you to share people who are genuinely interested and genuinely care about what you do. And I think that's amazing. But even like
Yeah.
obviously I had Jace, and when I had Jace on, he was like,
Yeah.
I love helping out people starting out. I love what you're doing. And then I had Tim on, and Tim was giving me tips. He was like, okay, obviously I have my own podcast, blah, 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 blah. Maybe let's think about try and think of a topic that you want to talk about and you want to get information from me, and we'll run with that. So that whole episode was about prep and understanding prep. And I had people message me back like, this was so insightful, this was so helpful. And I'm like, sick. Okay, great.
Yeah.
And then so that's kind of how I run it now. It's like, I obviously Built with Intent is all about understanding your background and where you come from and how you built the brand. But also it's kind of, I also want to know more about you and just personality, and just try and, within talking about what you're doing, trying to reel out your character and have
Yeah.
more people understand who you are, not just
Yeah.
the face of the brand or what you put out there.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think, when you get that, it's just those relatable moments. That's what I kind of focus on with the business as well, is if you're relatable, that's so magical. Like if you can communicate anything that shows relatability in a moment or a process or a life-changing something, like you will get emotional investment from that individual.
Yeah.
And it's like, because by nature, and I'm the same, I think we're all pretty similar when it comes to wanting to feel like you belong. We're tribal by nature, aren't we? As humans, we sort of get together with like-minded people, and that's our tribe. We're tribal. And
A lot of it is passion as well. It's like when you're passionate about something, you want to share that passion with someone else. So it's not necessarily that you want to be seen, it's that you want your ideas and your views to be seen. So it's less so about you and more about what you're preaching.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Absolutely. But look, I think when it comes to business, I mean, I probably haven't got any tips for you other than keep going. Because I just think there's so much value in the long form stuff, because like you said about sharing people's stories, some people like myself, I like to talk, I like to share a story because I know the value that it delivers. So, and I had a conversation in the gym the other day with a young lady who I've known for a few years, because she trains in the gym where we used to be based, and has got so much ambition and drive, and like she is the future of this country. Like this young lady, absolutely brilliant. And we had a chat about inspiration and outwardly telling people how inspiring they are to others, and it's not done enough. People like you inspire me because you're starting something from the scratch, and I love to see it. I love to see the energy, the effort, the work, and just all of that. Because with your podcast, you're creating a community as well. You're creating a community by having guests on that are going to feel like, I feel honored to be on here, and talking about our brand. I know I do. The invite was like, I was like, yeah, can we collaborate? I think there's something we can do here, and it's being given an opportunity to talk about the business.
But to reciprocate that when you send that message, that for me, it was like, oh, yeah, 100%. Like I was over the moon when you sent that message. So it's funny how different minds work. Obviously you're in my eyes, you're in a higher standpoint than I am. But then in your eyes, it's like I'm starting out, so I'm in a slightly higher than you because you're coming onto my podcast. And I love that kind of dynamic between it. It's great.
Yeah, absolutely. And I have all the respect for everybody who start out doing something and wanting to run their own lives. I spent 25 years in a corporate space, and I was a puppet on a string, mate. I'm now a corporate hater, like in a big way. It is so restrictive. I was never myself. I was following other people's rules. I was dancing to their tune. I'd have to be here, there, and everywhere based on somebody else's dream. And I was building their dream, just being a little slave.
Yeah.
You know, that's how I see.
That
Don't
is
get
how
me
it
wrong.
is.
I got a
That's
lot
how it
of benefit from being in the corporate world for a long time, but I was definitely there too long. You know, when I moved to Manchester 12 years ago, very quickly I set up my own company with a guy who I'd met in Manchester in the energy space. So I've always been a bit of an entrepreneur. I've always had a big belief around having more than one income stream.
Mm-hmm.
Having one income stream, especially in a PAYE role, is dangerous.
Yeah.
It can end tomorrow. You don't know the situation of that corporate company. You don't know the situation of the CEO, the company owners, the directors, the shareholders, or anything. You're just a number. You're a soldier, essentially.
Yeah.
And that can
True.
end tomorrow, you know. So building something for yourself with your own revenue, your own income, the sky really is the limit, and you can be yourself. You know,
Mm-hmm.
I'd walk into an office, I'd have to look a particular way. I'd have to speak a particular way. I'd have to behave a particular way. Now I do what the fuck I want, say what the fuck I want. And, you know, if that reflects on my business because I've said something out of sorts, then that's down to me. You know,
Mm-hmm.
nobody's telling me what to say, think, dress, behave, any of that. And I'm very much like, I feel free.
Yeah, I love that. To be fair, that's exactly the reason why I got into coaching, because it was a little gateway where I can start doing my own thing, but also it's like I'd helped a few people in the past, and I've always been told that I'd be great as a personal trainer or great as a so and so, or can you help me with this? Can you help me with that? So it was kind of that, and like I'm in a job, don't get me wrong, I love what I do, but it's very much the same as it's puppeted. It's like
It
you
is.
can have this, but in terms of that you have to do this, you have to do X, Y, and Z. And it just there's so many times where you feel undervalued, and I hate that. I hate that. If I ever have anyone who's under me, I can promise you they will never feel undervalued,
Yeah.
because I hate the feeling of being undervalued. So
Yeah.
I'll always reciprocate that with others.
Absolutely. And I think, you know, genuinely as, you know, we see when I look at corporate companies now, like you look at Gymshark and all these big, these are familiar brands to us, obviously, you know, and outwardly you see all of this fancy stuff on LinkedIn and we're doing this and we're doing that, and we're doing the other. The brutal reality is companies of that size can't deliver consistent employee satisfaction across the board, because the bottom line is it's a money making machine, and shareholders always come first because that's where the investment comes from. And, you know, it's a money making machine. And yeah, there'll be pockets of, you know, a lot of satisfied people, but is pockets of satisfied people enough? It would never be for me. So I would never grow my business to that size, you know. I think the philosophy within our business, you know, if you have a look at the people in the background of FBS, I've got a guy called Nick Broomhead who's a really good competitive amateur bodybuilder, but who's got loads of potential to be PCA pro. He looks after all of our brand partner program and our affiliate program. Dr. Emily Wilkinson's a PCA pro. She's got her own gym. She's an appetite psychologist. She's a doctor of nutrition, human nutrition. Kelsey Bartlett, PCA pro. She does our accounts. So the people we work with, who literally keep the fucking cogs turning in the background, most of them are pro bodybuilders, which is fucking awesome. You know,
Yeah,
because you know
so
you're sat in front of someone who gets it, you
cool.
know, who completely and utterly gets it. And, you know, if we ever bring anybody into the business to do background stuff, I would like to think they'd have got on the stage.
Yeah, too right.
You know?
Okay, talk to me a little bit about Stressless then. How did that come about? How did that collaboration happen?
Okay, so about 3 years ago, we started working with Emily Wilkinson as an educator for our nutrition section in our member site. That was the first thing. And then I went through a situation mentally with anxiety that was, you know, pretty raw and rough It was rough, but it was very situational, you know. So I went through, did some therapy, which was fantastic, by the way. If anybody's got some shit to deal with, I highly recommend a therapist to kick off with. You know, it's, for me, on the full journey of dealing with what I had to deal with, it wasn't, that was one tool that I used to help myself, you know. So I went through therapy for anxiety, and that came to an end because I thought I dealt with it. Yeah.
Yeah. It never ends, really.
No,
Like,
it doesn't.
It's always there.
It's always there. Correct. It's always there. And 6-8 months later, it popped back up again. I was like, fuck, I thought I'd sorted this out. Anyway, so I went to another therapist, and I was like, I'm just going over the same thing here. I went once and I knew that wasn't for me. I went, right, this is not the answer. So I said to my partner at the time, I said, look, this is not the answer. I have to find this answer myself. I have to essentially self-prescribe or medicate, whatever, you know. I'm not into tablets and stuff either when it comes to, you know, if you've got anxiety, it's, you know, go and do some reading, you know. So I started watching podcasts, and I stumbled across a guy called Daniel Amen, Dr. Daniel G. Amen. And he was on the Stephen Bartlett podcast. And literally I had it on the TV, and I was like, he said something. And he's this leading psychiatric doctor in the US, by the way. He's got 11 clinics, and his specialist subject is brain scans. And he said something on the podcast that just, mate, it just sat with me. I went, it was one of those moments where I went, he's
light bulb.
Yeah, literally. And I went, he's just described my brain in one sentence. So then in the next sentence, he promoted his book, one of his books. So straight away, Amazon, bosh, got the book. And it was a book to do with understanding the brain, help with ADHD, anxiety, and all these other things. I read the book. 10 pages in, I'm like, this is amazing. And there was a moment in the book where I fully understood that I was in control of my brain. So my perception of thoughts now is completely different. When you wake up in the morning, you do have a choice as to which way you think, but it's how you put things in place to help you think in the right way, and not let what Daniel G. Amen would say is the ants into your head, the automatic negative thoughts. So it's understanding the processor, understanding the different parts of the brain that can be overactive, which would deliver negative thoughts. And that, at that point, when I'd got sort of halfway through the book and I'd really started to work on my thoughts and managing the anxiety myself, he started giving actual stories. So it was a book of stories as well about his patients and how he prescribed getting them better. And it's very much an holistic view in and around, with some people who are potentially murderers, how he treats them with psychiatric drugs, you know, proper pharma drugs. But also he did a lot of talking around natural supplementation as well. And that's when I started to get the true fascination around how supplementation, brain health supplementation, could help me. And that was the catalyst for starting to create our own brain health product. It started out as, but then obviously as we looked into it and I started speaking to Emily, and we had a young gentleman called Thomas Thompson, who is a cognitive psychologist at the University of Hull. He's a lecturer there. I said, Thomas, I said, look, I've been going through this thing here. And I told him what I was going through. I said, and this is what I'd like to do. Will you get involved in formulating a brain health product? And can you do the research on the reading that I've done to support what we're trying to achieve? So it was all about, obviously, got this idea. I wanted to treat myself. Like, what are the supplementation that are really going to benefit me the most? Thomas, can you do the research on it and come up with a complementary idea around what I've already researched myself? And that's kind of how it started. And then when we brought Emily in and Joe Cross in, we said, okay, what is the gap in the market? We don't want to do, and as I mentioned before, I don't want to do something that's already been done.
You want it to be
I want to,
different and new.
absolutely, I want to make a mark in the industry. I want to make an impact. I want to create something that's new. And, when we looked at the market, a holistic approach to stress just wasn't out there.
Mm-hmm. Even though it's one of the biggest things, especially within bodybuilding, everyone talks about how to manage stress when you're in prep, yet there's nothing about it.
Absolutely. All you've got is a little discussion on cortisol.
Yeah.
But it's not. Cortisol is just one part of the full picture of stress within prep. And that's what we homed in on. We really homed in on Emily's speciality in and around gut health. So the gut-brain axis, we know they talk to each other. You get butterflies in your stomach, right? That comes from the mind. So how do we deliver a holistic approach to managing stress? And what are the things that really affect us in prep? Cortisol, we know. Oxidative stress, we all know that as well. And especially in steroid users, right? Oxidative stress is higher cell damage. And then we are looking at gut stress. We all have gut stress during prep. I mean, I don't know anybody who doesn't. So how do we then put that together in a well-formulated, and by its nature, stressless, promotes less stress by being so convenient. You're not having to run around finding 3 different products to deliver a solution and trying lots of different things. For me, 95% of people who have these 3 stress elements in prep, stressless will be the answer. For the other 5%, you might have to look at extra assistance with other supplementation or other approaches. But for me, if you were to look at stressless in the marketplace now, it's at the start of where Strom Support Max OCS was, as a market leading first. So OCS from Strom was the first of its kind in the industry. Rick at Strom was, I genuinely believe, I think I'm right in saying this, the first man to bring a free harm reduction program, blood work program, via NHS funding into the industry around 10 or 11 years ago. And I was one of the guys who would benefit from that. I used to get my blood work for free at Strom, and I used to get the advice off a nurse straight after. And this was all about anabolic use, right? So, I've been very lucky from the start of my journey to be surrounded in the Strom community to help me bring what I'm bringing to the industry as well now, But yeah, stressless was the catalyst for stressless was essentially my anxiety that led me to have a fascination in brain health and how the brain works, and work on my brain as much as my physique.
Yeah.
Because,
I think that's... No, go on.
Yeah, it's just neglected. Like, I didn't realize how much work the brain really required.
Yeah, it's a beautiful thing, the brain. I think the interesting one is like when you go to think about cool running water when walking on hot stones, and how you can pretty much negate the effects of heat simply just by thinking about, or even just like needing to go to the toilet and listening and hearing a waterfall or dripping water taps. The different things that the mind can do in order to generate a response to your body, whether it's heat negation, whether it's injury prevention, the different sorts, like the fact that when you have a brain surgery, you have to stay awake so that they can monitor your brain function and they can monitor what you're doing to make sure they're not hitting the right thing, because the brain is that complex. And I think the thing that's so cool is like stress less. You at no point do you advertise stress less as the cure. It's
No,
simply is simply a remedy that can benefit you. And like you said, the 95% it might work with, the 5% it might not work with. But at no
correct.
point you're saying it does work. It's kind of a
Abs-
benefit.
Absolutely. And the way I manage my brain now, like stress less is just one little part of a huge approach to how I live my life and go for a quality of life. And my my view on a quality of life is how much peace I have in my mind. You know, that's the quality. When you can think a particular way, um, that really improves the quality of life. I'm into hot and cold therapy. Honestly, hot and cold therapy for me, oh my God, it genuinely
It's
changed
so
my
good.
life. It
It's so
changed my
good.
life, just like Dr. Daniel Amen's book changed my life. Those
Hmm.
two things and breath work, honestly, wow. Just wow. And I would encourage anybody, even if you don't like the effing cold, I don't care. I didn't want to go and sit in a lake, or I didn't
But
want to go
that's
and
the benefit of it. That is the benefit of
that
it.
is the benefit. It's doing the
So
stuff that you don't want to do.
yes, the hot and cold, the whole point behind hot and cold therapy is not because people enjoy doing it. It's because every time that you do it, you alter your brain chemistry slightly. So those hard tasks get easier and easier and easier.
Absolutely, mate. And I love
Yeah,
the fact that you're into hot and cold therapy
I
because
love it. It's good.
it's another
Good.
crazy passion of mine. And, you know, like you said before about switching off pain,
Hmm.
I can sit in 5-degree water for 25 minutes, no problem. I haven't yet gone beyond that, and there is a goal to do that. But 25 minutes in cold, followed
It's quite
by
impressive.
35 minutes in a 70-degree sauna, honestly, for 3 days following, my brain just operates at a whole different level. Like the ability to complete tasks in the best possible way. There's no noise in the background. There's no thinking of other things while I'm doing this task. It's this task only. And the benefits for productivity are wild, but it's also one of the biggest things I get from it. And I think this is one of the most important things in life is for you to be grateful of where you are now. Like, honestly, if you can practice gratitude as often as you can, but to truly feel it, it's like no other thing. And that enables me to be so grateful, like to clear the mind and just go, wow, we are here. Just be there and just sort of understand that we've got all these things around us. We're able to live this bloody life of
Hmm.
ours. And I get you get deeper. For me, as I've got older, I've got deeper in my thoughts. And I have no problem outwardly sort of talking about the depth of stuff because
It's
I think it's,
necessary.
I think it's where it's at, mate. Yeah,
Hmm.
absolutely.
Because
100%.
everyone's mind thinks differently. Everyone thinks on different wavelengths. But I think the aspect of everyone thinks differently is very shallow and very surface level. But once you get to the deeper sort of things, you start to connect with people on a different level. You start to realize things about people that you didn't know. And
Yeah.
it's kind of like we're all in this giant kind of lake, giant sea underneath. And then everyone's in different positions, different parts of land on the surface. So once you get below that kind of surface level, everyone is actually on the same level playing field, just depending on how you're brought up or what environment you lived in. And
Yeah. And touching on that, mate, you know, you say about the sort of background and of how you brought up and stuff like that. I read another book called Change Your Brain, Change Your Life by a guy called, oh, fucking hell. Have I forgotten his brain? What's his name? It's just
Daniel Amen.
no, that's sorry. That was the first book I read. The other one was Breaking the Habits of Being Yourself by, yeah, tap that one in. Breaking the Habits of Being Yourself.
Joe Dispenza. No,
Yeah,
that's yeah.
yeah.
Joe
So
Dispenza.
honestly, he's another. He's massively into quantum physics,
Mm-hmm.
and I bought two of his books. The first one I started reading, and I couldn't get past page 10 or 11. I was like, mate, what the fuck are you on about? I was like, I can't read this. I have no understanding of quantum physics. Yeah. But then I soon realized that he'd bought another book out because all the feedback was that nobody could understand the
No
one.
one understood what it was.
Yeah.
It's
So,
amazing, but no one understood.
yeah, no, yeah, it's great. But, so so I started reading this. And then I guess with it was a journey to meditation and how you can actually meditate. But
Mm-hmm.
again, it was just one of the things that he'd said in the book was they say by the time you're 35, 95% of how you live your life is on automatic because your brain's just tuned in and everything that's you've done in 35 years is just, So the ability to change your actual brain just requires absolutely crazy amount of work because you're undoing the 35 years of work essentially. And one of the things that I've done over the last couple of years is try and change, absolutely change, like who I am as a person, because there were so many things that I didn't like. There's so many things that I was, I wasn't fulfilling my potential. I knew that. I was like, I know I can do better. I know I can do more, but I have to really change. And I sacrificed a lot, I sacrificed my relationship to change myself, And one of the catalysts was when I lost my dad a couple of years ago and became a grandfather within a 2-week period. That was fucking life changing, mate. I was like,
I can imagine.
what the fuck? My dad's gone. 2 weeks later, I'm
And
a
now I'm a
granddad.
grandpa. Yeah.
Um,
But I'm sure this is me commenting on your situation, so I don't know, but I'm
yeah,
sure that
so
was actually quite an enlightening thing because although you were going through the not necessarily trauma, but the hardship of losing your father, but then at the same time being part of a brand new life, it's kind of like a full circle effect of what you've lost, you've now gained on another level.
100%. And I said this to somebody yesterday, actually, a friend of mine, really close friend of mine. I've never actually mourned my father. I've just celebrated him. I've
It's the best
never,
way to be.
obviously, I've shed a few tears, because it's upsetting, right?
Mm-hmm.
But it's never been, oh my God, I've lost my dad. It's always been, what a lesson. His death has taught me a lot. He suffered as well. He really suffered at death. And I'm like, I've never sat back on it and gone, oh, poor me, I haven't got my dad anymore or anything like that. I've gone, fucking hell, I appreciate the lessons, Dad.
The lessons he taught me.
I
Yeah.
am now going to deliver these lessons to the rest of the family.
Yeah, I think there's a beauty in celebrating loss. So when I lost my nan, she was about 3 years ago. It was during COVID time, so she got really ill from cancer. She beat it the first time round, and then she got it again, and it was just too rapid. So she spent a lot of time in hospital and in the hospice, and because of COVID, only a certain amount of people could see her. So I didn't actually see her for about 8 months to a year before she passed, and I never got to see her before that. So I obviously the last time I saw her, she was in some sort of a healthy condition. So I never saw her in the final moments. And I used to always be annoyed about the fact that I never got to see her. And you're always told, oh, this is the best way to be. Like you get to remember her how she was rather than how she is. And as much as I agree with that in terms of I was young, I still wanted to just have a talk with her because she was my backbone. Like when she
Yeah,
passed, I would talk to her like all the time. When I was having hardship, I'd talk to her. And the one thing my family did was they mourned her, yes, but a lot of it was celebrating her life. And every year we do some sort of celebration for the both of them. And I think that's really, really beautiful, because it's like, it is the circle of life. You expect death, so you understand it. No one wants to lose someone,
No,
but at the same time, you expect it. So take in what you can while you have it, and learn the lessons from what they've learned in their life and how you can apply that into yours.
100%. And, I would say that, for me, seeing my dad in the shape that he was in, um, I'd want my kids to see that, because my dad didn't look after himself either, right? And like, he really didn't, big smoker for years, no exercise, big drinker, gave it all up, but it was too little too late, so heart disease, that he was in hospital trying to potentially have legs amputated because the blood flow to his legs were gone. He didn't have diabetes, although they were determined, and then there's so many complications. But to see him in that state has just helped me double down on, being forceful with my children and my family around nutrition, health, exercise, and for all in the fact that bodybuilding with assistance can be, potentially, harmful to health. You're not smoking fucking 40 cigarettes a day. Let's have it right. All of us guys who are assisted are taking care of what they're doing, and the sensible ones aren't banging loads of gear. They are thinking about their long-term health after bodybuilding.
So we want futures. We want
Yeah.
futures. It's
Yeah,
like, I've
exactly.
spoken to people and it's like, they're starting out and I'm like, have you thought about freezing sperm and stuff like that? And they're like, well, not really. I probably should have. And I'm like, well, do it, because you want kids. Like, yes, we can take as many precautions as we can to make sure that we don't have those effects. And like, you look at Sebum, he can't stop having kids, but still at the same time, it's making sure you're preserving, making sure that you're on top of everything, and every precaution you can take in the event that that happens is one that will benefit you in the long run.
100%. And again, it's all preventative stuff, and bodybuilding for me has just given me everything. I know a lot of people can hand on heart say the same thing, but my whole business is based around bodybuilding. For 3 or 4 years, I was obsessed with the competing and the progress and putting as much muscle on as I possibly could. And, the last couple of years have been the opposite. It's about
Longevity.
Yeah, really. And, I had my last blood work back recently, and I was just like, fucking brilliant. The work I've put in has paid me back, and, I'm open with my children. I mean, my children aren't children, 25 and 20. And I talk to them about my steroid use and my hormone use now. And, I keep it all open. And I think there's a lot to be said for that openness. And going back to not seeing your nan, I would have outwardly promoted you going to see your nan. I'd be like, go and see her. And even go and see her if she wasn't in good shape, because again, there's things will mark you, but based on your mindset, they will mark you in a good way. It's like celebrating the death. And that's I think we can definitely protect our children too much. As a father, I've always given rope to my children as younger, and see how far they'll go before they hang themselves with it. You know what I mean? Respect based. That's how that's how I father my children, kind of thing. Like, I promote risk. I promote risk.
Yeah. So with my granddad, it was slightly different. So my granddad passed away recently, last year or whatever, like half a year ago, and he was in a slightly different position. It's quite interesting, and it shows you how quickly things change. So he was on his heart was being monitored a lot. It's been monitored for years, and then all of a sudden it just started getting worse and worse and worse. So he spent a lot of time with us. He spent like three weeks with us. And his health was slowly improving over time. and then he went back to his, and then it just went. And he was pretty much paralyzed from head to toe for the most part. And he was in hospital, and I went to see him in that state, and obviously he can't really communicate. He can only really groan or mumble, but he can still hear you, so you can still talk to him. You can still hold his hand, and he can still grip your hand, and all of these things. And just seeing him in that position was, yes, it hurt,
Yeah,
and yes, it
of
was
course.
hard, but it was graceful,
Yes.
because I knew that by him coming to an end, like, we always just asked him, "Are you in pain?" And he'd just be like, "No," and he'd
Yeah,
basically
yeah,
kind of sign that he's not in pain. And to us, it's like hard to fathom how you're not in pain when you're in that condition. But if anything, for him, it was probably quite blissful. I think the only thing that was painful is that he couldn't go play golf, or he couldn't go
yeah. I love
play
it.
bingo. And it's like the different
Yeah,
things that he would enjoy doing, he couldn't do because he physically couldn't. But in terms of being peaceful, he was. Um,
peaceful.
and I think that's
It's
just amazing. And
peace
it's
of
the
mind,
reason why I've taken a lot away from that. And it's allowed me
mate.
to understand that these things happen, but you're grateful for it.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I think that's it's an experience, and I think it's an experience that, it's just real life, isn't it? This is life. Experience everything that you can, and for all of the bad experiences, you can 100% guarantee something good will come from it, whether that's a
Hmm.
thought or an attitude or something you can pass on to somebody else. There's always something that you can get a shining light on.
I like to say, your hardship is always the reward for someone else. I think that's quite nice.
Absolutely, absolutely. Do you know I was somebody put a post up on Instagram the other day, and it was to do with making mistakes, and um, I think they put something like, "Oh, they should have known their limits around this particular thing," and I'm
We
like,
never know our limits.
"No, that's it. I should have had this." I'm like, no, 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 no. It's like I, it's sort of in the mentor space, in the coaching mentor space, and there's a lot of good people in our industry,
Hmm.
in the mentor space and the coaching and education space. And, we always hear a lot of marketing from mentors saying, we've built this so you don't have to make the mistakes. And I get that. I understand that in terms of some processes and technological advances. I get that. But like, I want to make my own mistakes. And as much as you're giving me this blueprint for success, right? And that's, if I follow that, I'm going to be successful, right? But like, when you make a mistake, it's not just about learning that this process or this thing didn't work. It's about finding out about who you are, who the fuck you are. Right?
Hmm.
Make the mistake so you can find out who you are deep down. Not don't make the mistake because the process is wrong and you didn't earn the money off the back of that, or that failed
Yep.
because of, make the mistake, fucking learn about yourself, and
Mm.
generate your identity from fucking up.
Mistakes are beautiful. I love
They are,
mistakes.
man.
And they shape you to who you are and who you want to be. And it's like, why do you want to go through a world where you don't make mistakes? Because what do you learn? Like, if you're only ever learning from other people's experiences and you never actually gain that yourself, then what's the bliss in that?
Experience. Everybody's experience is different because we are
Hmm.
all different. So, yeah, absolutely, mate. Just keep falling over, keep fucking up, keep fucking rolling the dice. Because it's that old saying, like, if you only lose if you quit, man. And
Hmm.
we ain't quitting. We're just trying lots
No,
of stuff. We're just
exactly.
trying
It's
lots
like
of stuff.
you can, they say when you hit rock bottom, there's only one place up. Like, you can only
Yeah,
go up from rock bottom. And rock bottom is where a lot of people quit. And it's like, why would you quit at the lowest point when it's only up? It's like when you invest in stocks. Why would you wait 3 months for the stock to start rising when it's at the bottom. It's like, buy in there and let it do its thing. Just allow it, give it time, trust in the process, and just,
Absolutely. Yeah.
I think that's what's so beautiful about bodybuilding, is something that a lot of us learn very quickly, especially in the bodybuilding space, is it's a long-term game. You don't expect wins straight away. You learn how to accept the process and take time with things. And the longer you spend on it, the better it gets, the more you understand about it, and the more that it will relate to other people.
Yeah. Patience is such an art form.
A virtue.
And bodybuilders have probably got the most patient minds.
We spend a year or two at an off season to step on stage for 5 minutes.
Literally that. Literally that. And it just goes to show, doesn't it? People who stay around and in the sport and in the industry for a long time are the ones that are just there for the journey. It's the whole thing. It's never that moment of getting on stage, but it's part of it, you know.
Yeah.
It's a never-ending pursuit of just whatever you want it to be, because it always changes throughout, you know. Everything
Well,
always
look at
just,
you now. Like, your pursuit isn't so much size or whatever. Now it's longevity, but
it's,
it's still
yeah,
within the same space.
absolutely. I still, every time I train, it's to go to failure and beyond and to improve, you know. And
Mhm.
even though I've got no food in me or whatever the case may be, I'm still training like a freak. Do you know what I mean? We're going beyond failure, because we can't do 75%. We don't know 75% or 80%. You know,
What is that?
a
What is
deload for
that?
me is a week off. It's not going in and doing half a set. I can't cope with that.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I've been on deload this week and I actually want to die. Like, I'm itching. Like, I'll go to the gym just to do cardio and I could do it anywhere else, but it's like, I need to
Yeah, you
be
can just
in
go for a
the
walk outside.
environment.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like I can smell the equipment.
But we're all addicted as well to it, mate. We're addicted.
Like
100%.
when people used to say that they can't do days, their rest days, they can't stay away from it, and I used to always feel like, oh, like it's a good thing. It's a good thing to be away, and then you have like a deload week, and you're like, I need to get back in the gym. I
Put me back
can't
in.
get away from it.
Yeah, all of that. Absolutely love it, mate. Brilliant.
How did you get into bodybuilding? What was the fruition that sparked bodybuilding for you?
Do you know what? I'm really glad you've asked me that. And I tell you why, because the
I've
general.
been holding that one out. I've
Do you
been
know
holding it
what?
out.
This for me, right? I met a gentleman called Jim Bolton. Now, this was when I was living in Shrewsbury, and this is how I met Richard Foster from Strong. So, my wife at the time, she got a job with a lady called Sati Bolton in Shrewsbury, a hairdresser. So she had a couple of salons, and then she introduced me to her husband, a guy called Jim Bolton, who was back in the day one of the top amateur bodybuilders, who trained and worked with CNP, Dorian Yates. So he's fully involved with all the top guys. Yeah.
Jeez,
Yeah.
yeah.
Kerry Kays, who was Ricky Hatton's nutritionist and the owner of CNP, if you know the brand. Actually one of the innovating leading British supplement brands across boxing and bodybuilding. And I think Kerry Kays stepped away and out of the bodybuilding world and sold CNP about 12 years ago when I moved to Manchester. He owned a gym called Better Bodies in Denton, which I got to train for free because I was working for him, which was so fucking cool, man. Honestly, Better Bodies is just this literal bodybuilding wowness, you know, where there's the roof leaks, the equipment from the 1960s. You've got a fucking posing room at the bottom of it. It was full of
metal plates,
needles. It's just 90s oozing bodybuilding. So I met Jim Bolton in Shrewsbury, and you know, he had a gym at his house, and it was a big gym. It wasn't just a couple of pieces. I think there was a good 30 pieces in there with a good dumbbell rack, and it was all on his estate where he ran the business from. And he said, yeah, come up and train. And they were just lovely people. They were just generous, lovely people.
They always are. They always are.
Honestly, this guy was like, fucking hell. And Sati and Jim were just these two people with this aura of just loveliness. And he invited me to go and train. This was when I was about 30. So I didn't get into the gym till late in the day.
Hmm.
So I started doing a few training sessions, and I'd walk in this fucking shed and all the guys in there, because it was an invite only gym, because it was at his house. You know, he wanted
Hmm.
to protect it and make sure that people weren't just anybody coming in, which I understand. And I'd walk in there and all I saw were these fucking monsters, mate. I was like, holy shit, these guys are fucking massive. And they were just all competitive bodybuilders pretty much, and all of a later age as well. So, you know, been doing a lot over the years. So we
Hmm.
got into training that way, and I was like, this is pretty good actually. Fucking hell. Imagine if I could look like that guy. And everyone was just really helpful. Anyway, one day he said to me, look, I'm doing a bodybuilding show in Birmingham. Like we run the backstage, because he ran the backstage for a number of federations, and one of them was UKBFF, when that was the federation.
Nice. Yeah, yeah.
And so I got to do backstage, and I remember the very first backstage I did was unbelievable. You'll never guess who the guest poser was.
Give me a first name. No, 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 not first name. First letter.
Yeah. He's now, I'm going to give you the country where he lives now.
Okay.
He's now in Las Vegas. He's got a gym there. Little Welsh guy.
No, can't. It
Flex
doesn't ring a
Lewis.
bell. Oh
Old 212. Sorry, mate. Yeah, he's
no
sort of
way!
like
No, 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 no,
he's not an up
no, no,
to
no!
date.
I know who he is. I know who he is. Don't,
Yeah,
don't,
yeah.
don't attack me.
So I got a picture with a
Flex Lewis.
a
Wow,
2010 Flex Lewis, mate. So that was my first experience of bodybuilding show.
it's a
And
pretty nice one.
fucking yeah. And then at that show as well, there was a guy called Robbie Burton. Now I think he was based in Birmingham. And there was a few guys there, and I was just like, oh my fucking God, this is brilliant. I just fell in love with it. I was like,
Mm.
imagine getting to your physique looking like that. So that was it then. That was it. I think when you automatically fall in love with something, it's you go after it, don't you?
Backstage is magical. I remember when I competed, it's just like the energy, the relationships between athletes and coaches, the physiques that you see, the different people like from all over the world. And it's just, oh, it's phenomenal.
Yeah.
Like a lot of people say, oh, don't do a show and then jump into competing. Obviously, I always jump into coaching. I already wanted to be a coach, but I wanted to compete first, so I had the credentials to help other people.
Yeah.
And the thing that sparked it the most is I was sitting backstage, headphones on in the zone, and just looking around and seeing everyone laughing and the companionship in the room, and
Yes.
it just
Yeah.
you just sit there and look around, you take it in, you're like, wow, this
It's
is my
cool, isn't it?
life.
Yeah.
I like it. Yeah,
It's
it's just
fucking
phenomenal.
cool.
And
Yeah.
everyone's so down to earth. Everyone's so genuine. Like you're backstage while people are on stage doing their individual routines, and you're just laughing, having conversations with the athletes, and it's like, yeah,
Met
it's
some
just.
fantastic people along the way, mate, honestly.
Well, I was talking with Mikey, and we basically we're gonna plan a bunch of us to do the same show so that we all know each other.
Why wouldn't you? You know what I mean?
Exactly. And he's like, why? If you're gonna jump on stage, do it with people that you want to be there with.
It's the experience.
Mm-hmm.
Because that in life is all we have. Because when it's your time, it's your time. All of the materials will belong to somebody else. But all of the experiences you can take with you. And that is it.
Yeah.
That's all we have.
And it's the love of the journey. Like I can't wait to look at where I'm going to be in 2 years, 3 years time. Like,
Yeah.
I can't wait
And it's
because
great
there's
to
so
have that
much.
vision. It's great to have that vision because you can make whatever you want happen. And that's another big belief of mine, is that, you know, this whole manifestation, all this thing, you know, if you understand what it's about, you can just do what you want in life, you know?
Look at this podcast. This is a manifestation.
Exactly.
And
But
now I have you.
you've taken the actions that requires the manifestation. And that's the magic. Doers, action takers. That's how the world is operated, on doers. One of my philosophies is think less and do more.
I like that.
That will trip me up sometimes, but it will. But
Yeah, well,
as a percentage and as an average, I'm going to get fucking more done than you, mate. I'm going to get more done than him and her, and that's why we'll move quicker. Speed and productivity in business is essential, and I'm very much if I've got an idea and it feels good in the gut, let's do it.
sick. On that note, that's a great way to end. Robbie Burton, everyone, thank you very, very much for joining me. I've really, really loved this. I've appreciated you spending your time out your busy schedule to jump on here with me.
Honestly, an absolute pleasure, and it was 100% my privilege to be on your podcast. I love what you're doing. Absolute utmost respect for you, and to actually give me the platform to talk about what I'm passionate about is, you know, I'm very grateful for it, mate. I think long form content and people like you delivering this and giving opportunities to us guys to, like I said, talk about what we're passionate about and have an experience like this is massively important. So I wish you all the best, mate. And I want to, you know, anytime I can help you with anything, just fucking shout me, mate.
I appreciate that. Where can people find you and what can they see in the future?
Ooh, so in terms of actual location in the UK, we're based 20 minutes past the Manchester airport in a place called Bollington, Macclesfield. That is in a Adelphi Mill, which is 2 doors away from AW Muscle and Fitness, which some people will know because Mr. Sasan Harati comes from there. And you can find us online, obviously, www.fullballsports.co.uk. And what can you expect from us over the next 12 months in the short term? More products to complement stress less.
Sick. Can't wait.
So that is our mainstay product. And then we're going to insert products around it to only enhance the whole thing. Again, it's ensuring the philosophy around convenience and not having to use products that you don't need to use, you know, really making it efficient. This is the most efficient way of delivering solutions, in my opinion, for stress management and beyond. So there's a full strategy behind that. And then, fingers crossed, by the end of 2026, we as a business will be able to sign off commercially on an app that we want to build for the membership site so that it runs a lot better than it does now. We have just recruited 4 people, new people, to deliver education on posing. We had our first filming day on Thursday. We had our first seminar of the year yesterday. Went phenomenally well. And again, posing is one of my passions where I want to make good quality posing accessible to everybody. It's fucking expensive. It takes up a lot of time. Locations are difficult to get to. So we want to make a central hub for that. There are lots of really good stuff though in the industry, but there's not enough of the really good stuff. So we want to contribute to the good stuff.
I love that. Sick. Awesome. Thank you very much again. Thank you for joining me, and hopefully we'll have you back on here soon.
We'll cross paths soon, I've no doubt.
Thank you very much. If you've listened this long, I really, really appreciate you. I thank you for taking the time to listen. If you have enjoyed it, leave a like, leave a subscribe, and hopefully we'll have some new good guests in the future. Thank you very much, guys, and we'll speak to you soon. Peace.